What's up, hockey fans and fellow dumpers? Welcome to another Dump and Skate podcast. I'm the co-host Bender, podcast interview scheduler, and on and off the ice ball buster, Jeremy, broken and decrepit Abdu. With me, as always, is lead producer and the man that makes this podcast happen, the guy with the voice and face of podcasting, ABC and 40 plus league warden, dashboard food truck inspection failure. Jeremy, I gotta eat the pizza and breadsticks because they look fluffy. Holland.
The warden. Man, I went from the babysitter and the au pair to the warden. Good grief. What is the opinion of me in this ridiculous league we're a part of? Holy crap. What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all shapes, sizes, and flavors? Welcome back to another awesome and exciting episode. I don't know why I just said awesome and exciting. That seems like I'm starting a kids show. Welcome back to another episode of Dump and Skate. We are super excited. We were supposed to record a couple days ago, but the partner in crime here came down with like a one-day flu thing, so it's all his fault. He said he was going to, if it was a hockey game, he would have pushed through it. But since it wasn't a hockey game, he was like, yeah,
No. I said, if it was a hockey game, I would have pushed through and been just as regular, ineffective, not productive, just like any other time. But
100%.
I'm
not sure
better.
If he's on the bench
better,
or on the ice. Doesn't matter. Same production.
If
totally agree.
This is a little late being uploaded. It's my fault. I apologize, but I'm back now.
No need to apologize. Stuff happens. So we got a little ice stuff finished and the roller stuff finished this Sunday. Apparently it was, I think the score was like a 7-6. Did you see some of the pictures from the roller guys? So the Axemen took down the Bluffton Stars. So Ryan Smith, let's see if I can run through all the guys on that roster. That's Ryan Smith, Dave McKinley, our good buddy and friend of the show, Corey Ward. So even though he couldn't get his championship in ice, sorry, Corey, he got his championship in roller. So way to go, buddy. Shorzy plays with those guys, the Axemen. O'Toole plays with them. Alex Hegstrom. Oh, I'm going to miss people. Contos plays with those guys. A young man by the name of Dwyer plays with them.
Free Cooch.
Yeah, that's right. And I know I'm forgetting some of them, so I'm really sorry if I'm forgetting your names. But yeah, congratulations to those guys. They had a heck of a season. I think they were preseason number ones. I think we did beat them early in the season, but I think that was more of a fluke that we actually got them. So hats off to those guys. Heck of a season. Congratulations. Big win. Enjoyed looking at the trophy. I couldn't make it out of the games last night. We had a bunch of stuff going around the house here, so I couldn't get out of the house for the 7 o'clock puck drop, but did watch a little bit online. And everything was lagging, so it was hard for me to watch their game online because I was way behind and was frustrated with that. So, yeah, way to go, boys! Good win, nice season.
Did they play?
So, they played against the Bluffton Stars. That was Mike Gardner, Damian Olson, and I'm really bad at remembering the rest of those guys' names because I just did not know their team. I think what was his name? Yeah, I'm really bad. I can see. Oh yeah, that was Bond was the goalie for them. That's right. Yeah, so I can see some of their. I can see some of their. Yeah, Corey, you got one. Sorry, Bond. You get no trophies.
See, Bond is the link.
But if Bond, if you're listening, I know what Bond's going to think immediately when he hears that is, hey guys, it's okay. I've won quite a few other ones. Bond will be quick to tell you the number of championships he's won in the Savannah area.
He's got the record for roller hockey championship.
He does. Yeah. It's like 13 to 27 or something like that. I forget. He tells me regularly, and I just don't remember. So I'm sorry, Bond. I think it's like 5 of them.
If he tells you regularly, but you don't remember, so are you saying you just don't pay attention?
I get told a lot of information from a lot of people. It is hard for me to remember all of it. That's what I'm saying there. It's not that I don't listen to people. It's that I get told lots of things. But I do know that Bond is very proud of the fact that he does have the most championships in that league. And so hats off to Bond. Just none this year. Sorry, Bob.
Not in ice hockey. He's got one. He's got one in ice hockey though.
He does have one. He got the one last season. That's right. Yeah, that was a good one. Those boys look really good last season. So yeah, so big shout outs to the guys on the Axemen. Great season. Oh, Jim Stilley, their goalie. Golly, can't believe I forgot that. Sorry, Stilley. So love Stilley. Played with Stilley for years and years when I was younger, and good to reconnect with those guys getting older. So playoff hockey's going on. We were talking last night about the Rangers. You asked if I thought they would sweep. I said I thought they would, and they in fact did. So hats off to those
Keep
guys. They
going.
also
Keep
have had a
going,
heck of a
guys.
season. Good for them. I got some guys I grew up with. The Smiths, Kevin, and Brian. They probably don't listen to this, but if they find their way here, shout out to you guys. They're huge Rangers fans. They're from that area, so obviously they got a reason to pull for the Rangers. And then let's see, Oilers, who I'm kind of in their camp right now. I'm a Wings guy, so yeah, screw the Capitals and screw the
Screw the
Flyers.
screw the Flyers.
Freaking jerks, both of them jerks. Capitals, you deserve losing in 4 for so stupid. It's the Wings' fault for not doing their own job, but whatever. All right, anyways, I'm off of that. I'm not bitter. I'm okay. I'm
He's
good.
not salty at all.
I feel fine now that New York's cleaned the floor with Washington. But anyways, Edmonton got a good win last night. I fell asleep during it, but I woke up to see that it was a 1-0 win. That's a good game in that series because Edmonton's regularly putting 4, 5, 6 goals in a game. So, and then you said there's one. Oh yeah, there's an elimination game going on right now. Yeah, Tampa Bay and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so, which Tampa Bay is your nephew's team, right? He's a big fan of Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is he a Chicago guy?
He's a Chicago guy.
He's a Chicago guy first, and he's the Tampa guy second.
I think so. Yeah. Well, he's a big Connor Bedard fan, as we know.
Yeah. He talked about that.
But yeah, I think he just became a Tampa Bay fan as of recently, but not like a diehard Tampa Bay fan. He knows.
All right, we won't give you too much hard time, Austin. It's not looking good for Tampa Bay, though.
No,
it's not looking good. But they're playing a good team in Florida, so. And then there's a late game tonight. Is that the Dallas Vegas game?
I think so. I think that's tonight.
Who cares about that one?
I hope they both lose.
Yeah, if there's a way they can both lose that game.
I hope they both lose in 3 games.
Could we make it where they both lose and then somebody that we feel sorry for, like Toronto, gets to carry on even when they lose? They're going to lose to Boston. It looks really bad. Like it's not good.
Austin Matthews didn't even play.
Dude, it's not pretty. What's Nylander hasn't played the first 3, right?
Yeah,
he just came back in the 4th game.
Yeah.
What the heck? It's no good when all your studs are not doing their job. Oh my gosh, freaking Toronto.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there are certain things in life, right? Death, taxes, Toronto going out in the first round. Like, it's just guaranteed going to happen.
I just don't like if it's a Stanley Cup final. I prefer it not being a West Coast team in the finals, just because I don't like to stay up past like 10:30.
Grandpa Abdu just can't handle the late night games.
When the Blackhawks had their run and they played against Anaheim, my sister was living down here in South Carolina, and that's an hour ahead, and games were going into triple overtime, and Mandy's like, I can't stay up. I'm fighting to stay awake. I got to be at work in like 3 hours.
In the morning. Yeah, what are we doing here?
Yeah, so I feel her pain now, and I just prefer not to be a West Coast team in the finals ever. So,
yeah. So, well, those games have been fun to watch. It's been nice. Been some decent series. Let's see. Oh, there's my dog. He's part of the podcast now. This is a different one, and he is he's currently guarding the house from. I have no idea what, but he's looking out the front window and he's barking.
Good.
At who knows, the street light. I don't know.
He's our intern. This is one of our interns.
Oh my
behind the scenes.
Yeah, and he's got a death stare going on whatever it is he just barked at twice. So
I'm sure the listeners really care.
Yeah. No, welcome into the pod, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome, dumpers. So yeah, a little playoff talk, a little bit of talk. It's been a weird week, right? Been a weird week. No hockey for this entire week. Messaged Cooch this morning. We're trying to set up the Jacksonville tourney, so we're going to Jacksonville. You, me. Oh, there's another dog making a cameo. Oh, that's the baby. All right.
I'm a little upset. It's been a week and 1 day since hockey for people that just happened to be awesome and make it to the championship last week. I sent people texts on Thursday saying, look, if you guys need a sub, let me know. And I did not hear anything from anybody. It's just a little disappointing that no one said, hey, we could use you for a sub. It's the reality of hockey being gone down here in the South. It just
weird,
came to a complete stop.
Summer league is no league. That's right. So Yeah, it's definitely been weird. It is nice though. I messaged Cooch this morning. We were trying to get a couple things ironed out for the Jacksonville tourney at the end of May, and we said something about it's weird, not having it this week or something like that. And Rob made the comment. He was like, "Well, it's really nice. Like this 1 week has been exactly what my body needed to heal." And I'm like, "There's no way. I mean, my body feels way better. I got to do so many more things. Like this past weekend, my oldest daughter has like a horseback thing that she does, so I got to go with her and take the other kids and all. While my wife took my son to something, and that's stuff I've been missing out on weekends because we've been busy with hockey on Saturdays, and then Sundays was roller for a long time, and so it's nice to have the weekend kind of free. And it actually was nice. Like tonight, I would normally be at hockey and for the 40 plus stuff, and I was able to come home, make dinner, things like that, sit down, do the pod. So it has been nice. It is a nice rest, but I do miss skating
It's
a
definitely
little bit.
missed, right?
It's
It's
only
so
been a
missed.
week, so I can only imagine what's going to happen in another 2 or 3 weeks when it's like, well, I don't even know how to lace my skates anymore. It's been so long since. So my stuff is still hanging on the drying rack in the garage. So I walk by it every day. It's
Mm.
just weird. My body's like, "Hey, you're supposed to pack this up and go somewhere today." I'm like, "No, apparently not.
It's the
No, you're not."
routine of hockey. It just like
Yeah,
it came to
I
an
feel
end.
like I need to peel the tape off my stick and then retape it just because.
Do you tape every game?
No,
No, me neither. I don't. I
no.
don't
I usually
understand.
wait. I usually wait until the tape's like I'm not gonna say
Chewed
falling
up,
apart, but
chewed
yeah,
up.
yeah, some pretty good gashes from skates or pucks hitting it pretty good. And the worst is, see, this always happens to me, and this isn't really a tape job show, but like this is what always happens. I get a fresh TJ on the stick, right?
Mm.
I hit the ice first shift. I come back and there's like a freaking $50
Gash.
sized gash, and I'm like, wait, this just taped it, and then so I take it and like lay it back over and peel it and stick it back to the blade, and then it stays stuck for the next 5 or 6 games, however many games. It doesn't ever fall off. The rest of the tape job disintegrates, but it doesn't ever fall off. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
I'm not
So
a. I never retape my stick before every game. And the only reason why I do that, I don't tape it. When I grown up, my dad, we would use so much tape growing up. My dad actually said, "I'm not buying tape anymore. You guys have to buy your own tape." So I just got the habit like of just using tape until I actually need to use tape. And I know there are people even in men's league today, they retape their stick before every game, and I'm like, wow.
I don't know if it's a lazy thing. Like I don't have the patience for that. Like I feel like when I was a kid, I was always at the rink way earlier so I could untape and retape. And I didn't do a lot of it when I was a kid. But actually I was a real minimalist as a kid. Like and it was roller, not ice, but I would put like a single strip on the bottom that would stay
Oh,
stuck for like months. Like it wouldn't tear up there. And so, but ice, I was usually having to tape it every once a week kind of thing. So yeah, there's dogs again. And so, but yeah, I just now I'm like, it's almost a hassle. Like when the tape job's
uh,
shredded, there's been a couple of times this past season where I get to the rink, the tape job is absolutely destroyed. And I look at the stick and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not taping it. Like I'm not retaping it. Like it's just I don't feel like doing that right now.
see,
There's not enough time. So
I
just
grew
roll
up
with it.
in the 90s playing hockey. So that's when you use the whole knob of tape, then you twisted it into like a little wrap down the handle and just using up so much tape. Uh, yeah, I don't do that anymore. I'm just,
Never
but
liked that tape job. I hated it.
I love to me. When I used to work at BNR, the pro shop, I there would be kids that just started learning how to play, and they go, "Can you tape my stick?" And I always tell kids, taping sticks is like one of my favorite things to do for hockey. And when Cooch needs his stick tape, I'm like, I'll do it. I'll do it. I just love taping sticks. It's something that I
I'm
have
glad you
enjoyment.
went to that way because I was getting a little concerned that you'd be like, I used to have all the little kids come over and say,
No,
"Come on,
no,
little
there was
kid,
no,
sit in my
no.
lap while I tape your stick." And I'm thinking,
This isn't.
easy,
First of
easy,
all,
Abdu.
never ever
Sheesh.
do I sound like that ever. If anybody out of the two of
I don't
us
know.
sound like
I don't
that,
know. I don't know.
I
There's been
have
some
proof.
excitement a couple of times. There's been
I I haven't
that's
lost my voice
that's
yet though.
that's way different. That's such a
I've
different
never
sound.
sounded like that before.
Oh my gosh.
All
Speaking of
right.
tape and equipment, um, want to make sure we remind you guys, go visit our friends at BNR Sports. Um, tape, any kind of equipment you need. If you need grippy tape, like my friend Abdu here loves to use on the top of his stick. If you need regular stick tape, clear tape, sticks, skates, anything, any kind of hockey equipment, you can give those guys a shout. What's the website, Abdu?
brsport.com. If you need fleeces and you're just waiting to hear a response, they will get back to you.
Eventually. If you need a new fleece because your dog chewed the arms off. Oh my
If you
gosh.
need a new helmet because your
If you
dog
need a new
chewed it up.
helmet because your dog chewed their helmet up, you can call John and those guys and they'll ship you out one super
If
fast.
you
Yeah.
need new
So
skates because your dog chewed your
dog chewed the tendon guard. If you're not seeing the theme here, my dog is slowly trying to destroy anything I own that has something to do with hockey. So, oh man, the dog wasn't even the dog I chose to get. My wife chose to get that dog. I love my wife, but I
and
did
you
not
love the
agree with
dog.
this decision. I
You
do
love
love the dog. She is very
you're
sweet. However,
reassigning blame.
she
You're
likes to
reassigning blame.
destroy my thing. So,
Really quick
yeah,
before
go.
we start,
Yeah,
I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
no, you're good.
We did a post on white cages being dust or a
Are
must.
we even going to get into that right now? Why don't we get into that another when we're going to discuss stuff like that? Because aren't we doing the whole equipment stuff? We're doing a whole
Okay.
equipment thing, right?
All right.
We're
Well,
doing a
then
whole
this is just
equipment
a
thing.
teaser. I'm tickling
Just a
everyone's
teaser.
ass with a
It's
feather,
gonna,
for the next
you're
podcast.
not
Right.
tickling mine.
Well, yours.
Oh
There's
man.
other people. All right. My bad.
Come here,
I
kid. Let me
apologize.
tape your stick.
I know
Oh
I don't
man.
sound like that, and
Oh
I,
my
I don't
gosh.
lure kids in with
We'll
candy in the van.
discuss. We'll discuss the white cage. The white cage isn't even on the helmet anymore. It didn't even make it a full game.
We'll
But
talk
yeah,
about
no,
it
I
later.
saw plenty of comments. So thanks a lot, guys. I dislike most of you tremendously. So, oh gosh. All right. Today we wanted to chat a little bit about subs, sub rules. It affects everybody. I want to talk a little bit about how we've handled it here in ice hockey. Abdu's going to give his perspective on how they handle it back in Chicago, and then also give the perspective on how the guys in roller do it. And then we're just going to talk some general questions, some things we've seen, and how we feel about it. And yeah, you guys, as you listen, pop off in the comments. Let us know what you think, and what you think about it. So the rule for us has been the very first season we did it. It was kind of like, I don't know, it was like the wild, wild west with subs. It was ridiculous. I mean, we had A-League teams that had 4 guys showing up, and in order to play, they were picking up 4 or 5 subs, and it was a madhouse. And so our standing rule was once you got to the playoffs, there were no subs. You couldn't use subs. You had to play with who you had. Teams were super short. I mean, it was a train wreck that first season. So we sat down with captains, and we tried to iron some things out. And one of the things that came up was one of the guys brought up kind of what they do in another league in Charleston about how you have each player has a grade, and if you're missing a player, you have to go get a sub that's in the same grade level or within 1 point. So if they're graded out as a 6 on a 1 to 10 scale, you can get a 5, or you can get a 7, or you can get a 6, but you can't go get it like a 9. And so that was going to be tough for us to kind of accomplish with the limited staff that we have. There's only 3 of us as directors, but we don't have enough time to really go through that. We don't quite have the infrastructure yet to grade guys out really well. So we said, look, we really like that idea, but it's going to be difficult. And so essentially we looked at all the cabinets and said, here's the deal. You guys you understand what you're missing. Obviously you're missing a good player. You want to go try to get a good player, but if you're missing a plug off of your team, do the right thing. Don't go grab an absolute stud. That's just not a good idea. Most of the captains seem to say, "Hey, yeah, we understand that. We get it. We understand what we're trying to accomplish here." Yeah, most captains understand that. Right? This is all in A League here. I'm still talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so C League, we really didn't have a ton of subs. The subs they grabbed were usually subs from other teams in the C League. Most of the C League guys every season have shown up. We've had very few times where we've had just absolutely depleted rosters in C League. So a lot of our sub rules trickled down from what was going on in A-League. So the other big rule we put in was you can get no more than 2 subs. So you show up with 5 skaters, you can get 2 subs to get to 7. That's it. And the other caveat to that is if you've got 10 skaters, you get no subs. So you say, well, I really like to prefer to skate with 12. Sucks to be you. Your guys should have shown up.
Right.
You don't get 12. You only get to 10. So you show up with 9 guys, you can pull 1 sub to get you to 10. That's it. You don't get to get 2 and go over that 11 mark. Now, if a team shows up and has 13 skaters, another team shows up and has 9, the other captain says, I don't care if you grab 2 and get to 11. That's between captains. That's fine with us. But our standing rule that any captain can hold another captain to is you only get 2 subs up to the number of 10 guys on the bench kind of thing, or 10 guys on your skating roster, whatever. All right. So same kind of things held true for C League. The one big difference in C League was the C League guys were like, hey, look, no A League guys are allowed to drop down and substitute in the C League. The only asterisk caveat to that has been that as a director, I was always there on C League nights. And so most of the captains knew who I was, and they didn't have a problem with me playing, probably for one of 2 reasons. I like to think it's because I don't get out there and try super hard in that league. I try to help the guys I'm playing with, but I would typically have a standing rule that I don't shoot. I'm just passing the puck, distributing it to those guys. But I also try to dial it back and not go 100% out there. That's not fair. It's not nice. It's really not what it's about at all. So I try to hold to that. The other part could be they just don't think I'm that good, and so they're totally fine with me substituting in the C League because they don't think I'm a very good hockey player, and I'm okay with that one as well. So that's been fine. There's been a couple times where Andy and I both subbed because during Christmas time this past year, teams were just super light, and so we were just trying to make sure games got done. And so Andy would sub for one team, I would sub for the other. We would just kind of match line for line for one another, and goof off, have a good time. So those are the basic rules for what we have. Again, they're kind of loose. They are written down in a couple things we've given out to captains, but they're pretty simple and straightforward. And for the most part, everybody has followed those rules. We know you don't go over that 10 mark. You only get 2. So you show up with 5 skaters. You can pull a couple of them. It burned a couple teams in the playoffs. There were some teams that were really short that could not sub. Didn't really matter if the captain was like, hey, yeah, or, no. Now there was one exception to that rule. The team we played in the playoffs, the Wagons, were severely shorthanded. They were missing multiple of their top 6 players. They were missing 5 of them, I think. And so, or top 7, they were missing 5, something like that. And so I got a phone call and they were like, we've got 7 guys. Like, we just don't want to die. And I said, yeah, it's okay if you grab a C League guy to skate with you. I'm not that concerned about that. So again, yes, we broke the rule there, but that was more out of preservation for some guys not dying on the bench from having to skate 4-minute shifts. The Dogs are very excited about something like that. So that's the Savannah rules on subs. Abdu, what do those Chicago's rules look like? I'm sure they're a little more detailed than what I've just given.
Rules with subs. The first rule is for playoffs. The guys on your team, if for them to qualify for playoffs, they have to play a minimum of 3 games. So for that rule, for the exact rule of subbing during playoffs, you can't just bring in ringers or somebody. They have to play at least 3 games with the team. Subs also is basically, it's not a written rule, but I think for most part, it's like, hey, we only got like 5 or 6 skaters. That's when we get subs. For the most part, everybody just like to have 10 skaters. So if there's 8 or 9, if there's 9 skaters, someone like, hey, we're fine with 9. Let's try to get 2 even lines. But as far as getting subs, there's no one really like. We have players that like, oh, let's ask Rolla to play. They'll make a difference. It's not so much A level, B level. You can get anybody you want. Whether it's an A player, B player. For goalie subs, they don't have to be rostered. They don't have to play 3 games. They can just go ahead and play your first game with goalies just because you can't play a game without a goalie. You have to have a goalie. Let's see. That's the main thing with subs for Chicago. It's really an honor system in Chicago. Some rinks might do it differently, but back at all seasons, it's they have to be rostered also. So if they're not on your roster, you can't have play. I believe that has changed now. So you'll see a roster like my roster had at one point had like 20 people, and that was covering all the subs. We had Marola, Wilkie, all these guys just in case we needed a sub. So they have to be rostered. There's a sign-in sheet, but I do believe now that's changed. So yeah, that's basically it's just an honor system really there.
So that's not really, I mean, it's a sub, but it's basically like a pre-approved type sub. Like
Yes.
you've already got them listed on your roster. So like if you show up to the rink and you're like, hey, we've only got 6 guys tonight, you can't go to a team that's playing before you and go, hey, can one of you guys hang and skate with us?
You can if they're not like, if they're an Abdu kind of a skater. But if they are like a Rossi or I'll just throw this name out there, a Jeremy Holland, it has to get okayed by the other team. Hey,
Gotcha.
look, we're down a couple people. He's not rostered. Are you okay with this? And they're like,
Gotcha.
now what's different between here and up there? There's so many teams in Chicago that a lot of people don't know the names. Down here, everybody knows who everybody is almost.
Right.
Yeah. So once it's okayed by the captain. Now, Chelly does look at all the rosters. He did say, "Hey, look, you can't have Wilkie, you can't have Rago and Marola all on your permanent roster." And I said, "Well, Wilkie doesn't play every game, so um,
Gotcha.
it's kind of you have to get it okayed."
I
So
gotcha. So you can put guys on your roster, but there's going to be I mean, you can put them on the inactive roster, but there's stipulations of
yes,
like, hey, these guys all can't come and play, and you just say, hey, no, they're just there in case we need
right. And
substitutions.
then if we're playing up in a level like in the A League, then we're X amount of B League players, league players, and then it's not an issue. For the league that we're
Right.
in, it's pretty much an honor system. Like,
Yeah, similar to what we do here, just a little bit
yeah,
different where you got to have guys actually listed out, which is a good idea. That kind of limits what you're doing. We also talked about the way you guys do subs for goalies, and the way we do subs for goalies here is basically like, hey, you don't have a goalie, you just start asking around to the other teams in the league if they're one of their goalies can stay and skate for you. On the very rare occasion, and this actually happened some this year, on the rare occasion that I can't get a C League goalie to sub for a C League team, I have to go dip into the A League guys and ask one of those guys to come down, and that usually
hmm
creates quite a stink because our A League goalies are really good goalies. And then we've actually even had the opposite happen where we've had some trouble getting some guys in A League. We've had a guy
hmm
leave for military assignment. We had another guy that was injured and had to do some traveling in addition to being injured. So we had two teams in A League that we were constantly trying to find goalies for here for this second season. Well, not constantly, but we felt like we were regularly trying to find goalies for. And we ended up asking a C League goalie a couple of times to come up and play. He's a good C League goalie, but there's a big difference between our C League and our A League.
yeah.
Um,
With goalies, there's a Facebook page called the Chicago Goalie Union, and if you ever need a goalie, you could just say, "Hey, looking for a goalie at all seasons at 745 C2," and someone will say, "I can play." But there's, like
yeah,
I said, there's so many teams up there. You can find a goalie. We have a backup goalie. We have a couple backup goalies for our team.
yep.
Just like this weekend, we have our first playoff game, and our main goalie can't make it. And then we just kind of go down the backup. I hate trying to find a goalie being so far away from the Chicago team because I get anxiety. Like, man, it's putting pressure on me trying to find a good goalie. Now, when I lived up there, I knew a lot more
You get
people.
you
I
get
got
like you get like the water farts worrying about it.
no, not that kind of anxiety. It's like, man, just trying to find someone is a lot harder when you're 1,000 miles away versus when I'm up
Yeah,
there. So I,
trust me, I know it's
um,
hard enough finding goalies sometimes
right,
here, and I'm like
yes.
15 minutes away. I'm like, yeah,
So we did find a goalie for Friday, um, but I would hate to be in your shoes because it's the captain's job to look for it. When you're missing goalies down here, everyone goes to you.
it's
Find
not
us a
like they
goalie.
go to
Help
the
us find.
directors; they just come to me. They come to
Right,
this director.
right. So,
Hey
and
guys,
I apologize. I
hey
apologize.
Jeremy,
I've done that to
can
you a
you
few
find a
times,
goalie for me? Yeah, it's not a big deal. Some
but
of
I
that
have
is
asked other goalies. I have
Yeah, some
other
of that is I
myself.
don't like giving out all the goalies' information because some of
Right.
these goalies don't want their information circulating to
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these guys,
100%. Right.
and it's not like a hey I don't like those guys thing. They just don't want their number floating around, and
Mm-hmm.
so there are certain goalies I'm a little guarded about giving their stuff out, but I don't mind asking for them. And again, it's a relatively small community still at this point, so it's not a big deal to try to reach out and make. It's not like I'm having to call through 75 goalies. There's like 12.
Right.
And so it's not like it's a huge call list here. So I know the roller guys here handle subs a little bit differently. It's a little more rigid and structured, I think. And so if there's a roller guy listening that listens to the podcast, and if I say something wrong here, please, I know that there's probably some things I don't understand. I've never captained a team in roller, and I've never had really extensive conversations with any of the guys that run the roller league. So some of this is just off of experience of being on a team that needed a goalie or needed a sub or seeing other teams get subs and asking questions about, hey, how did that guy land there, kind of thing. So I know what they typically try to do is they will you don't pull subs off of other teams. So what you do is the roller guys, the teams are set, and then if you miss the season, but you say, hey, I'd like to play, they put you on a sub list. And so they'll allow you to be called in to be used as a sub if a team needs a sub. But I think, and this is where I'm not 100% sure, but I think what happens is it goes through an approval process. So let's say my team needs a sub and it's our best player is going to be out, right? And so we call in and say, hey, we need a sub. And we know this guy on the sub list, and he's a good hockey player. And everybody is, recognizes he's a good hockey player. The guys that run the league will say, hey, yeah, that's fine. You can get him as a sub, give him a call, or we'll call him, whatever. All right. However, if I'm short some guys, but it's like I have 4 plugs and they're all not going to be there, and I'm down to 6 skaters because my 4 plugs aren't there. If I call and say, hey, I'm just trying to pick up one guy, I'd like that one really good guy. It's my understanding what they'll say is, yeah, no, we're not going to give you the really good guy to replace the plugs. You can step down a couple of guys on the list and you can find one of the guys that are mediocre players and you can bring one of those guys to come skate for you, but you're
That's
not
a
going and
lot of
grabbing the
work.
stud. I think it's a lot of work on the guys that run the league. And I think
Right.
it's not
Yeah.
as much work as we think because they kind of have a decent idea of who's sitting on that sub
Mm.
list. Again, I think, I don't know for sure. I know Grenny, I know Byram, Kelly, I know Stilly, I think is involved with some of that too. Those guys know that stuff a lot better than I do because they've been dealing with it and intimately working with it for longer than I've, been playing in that league this year or the past couple years. So the other thing that's pretty interesting is they have a sub list for goalies. So if your goalie's out, like you don't get to borrow a goalie. Typically, you don't get to borrow a goalie from another team. Now, I've seen exceptions made to that once or twice. I asked questions about that, and I kind of like, we just the other team okayed it. It was no big deal. Every time my team was short, we ended up pulling out of the goalie pool, and the goalies we were pulling were not typically as good as some of the other goalies. And
Oof.
so, yeah. So again, it's fine. It's okay. I'm appreciative of the guys that are willing to stand in and play goal
Hmm.
because otherwise the other option is pretty bad. But yeah, it's like I said, it's pretty rigid, or at least it feels like it's pretty rigid, pretty structured. And so I think those guys, I think what they're attempting to accomplish is keep the parity in the league and not say, hey, well, you're short, so you just and you play later tonight, and your team's really the 6th best team in the league. You're not going to be going and getting the number 1 goalie in the league to sub for you tonight, and all of a sudden starting to upset standings or mess with the function and flow of the league. So I get some of the reasons why they're doing that sort of thing. The way we've run it here, it's never really affected the standings per se. Now, that kind of gets us into some of the finer details of some of these things. So some of what's come up, especially in the Savannah Ice League, and you kind of addressed this with yours, and you said Chelios kind of looks at it and says, hey, you're not grabbing these studs. But if you need a sub, do you just automatically go run and grab the absolute best player available? Now, like I said, the roller guys keep that stuff in check. So those guys are like, yeah, no. So when you're pulling, you just go say, hey, I need a really good defenseman. I'm going to go call Pete Rossi and be
Yes.
like, hey, Pete, I need you to come sub for me. Do you call like a guy like Tim Grande? Then they'll be like, Tim, I need you to come sub for us. We're short a defenseman, right?
Yes.
Is that the right way to handle that? Like,
I.
I disagree with that. So we were short
Well,
last season. We were short. My A-League team was short last year, and we were going to be short. I think it was in the final game. And I reached out to the captain of that team. I said, look, I'm down to 3 defensemen, and I'm missing several forwards. One of my guys had moved. We did not look like we were going to put up much of a fight. And I said, do you have a problem if we pick up? There's a younger guy, I think he's in his mid-20s, that plays on the military team. Everybody knows who he is because he's happy to sub around. Matt Pellegrino, Pelly, thanks, buddy. And I said, do you mind if we ask Matt if he skates with us just as an extra defenseman so that we don't die playing 3 guys against you guys? Captain said, I don't care, man. It's totally fine. I get it. You guys are super short. Bring him in. So we brought him in there. And could I have gone and called better defensive players? 100%. I just wanted a guy that would be willing to play with us, that I knew was a decent player, and would help us, give us some rest kind of things. I think I ended up playing everything. So that's the way I look at that. I don't try to go to just grab the absolute best player possible.
100%. I think the competitive nature of hockey players, you're not going to go out and grab someone that just started skating, um,
Correct.
but you're not going to, out of
However,
respect, you don't grab like, the best player. You kind of grab someone, hey, that guy's fairly decent, bring him. He knows how to play the game. That's what we do in Chicago.
so I will
We,
say, um, Lindsay Sprints. I remember Lindsay was in a situation similar to that what you're describing there with the Griffins, and she was missing. I think she was 2 or 3 players short of the 10 threshold. Again, she knows the rule of 2, and that's it. She reached out to the other captain and said, "Can I please just get to 10? I'm only going to pull 3. It's pulling 3 guys instead of 2." The other captain said, "It's no problem." I don't remember which team she was playing. I know she pulled you.
hmm
She pulled. I don't remember who the other was, but she also pulled her husband Zach. And she specifically told Zach, I'm pulling you because I'm missing one of my weaker skaters. You're filling in for the weaker skater. And so Lindsay did not intentionally try to load her roster up with the 3 best players she could find. In
Yes.
my opinion, Lindsay did it the right way. She knew she was missing one of her weaker skaters. She knew those were one of the ones that called out. So she brought in Zach as a weaker skater to fill in for that guy. She brought in you to fill in for a better player, and whoever the other person was. She brought them in
And
to fill in
that's a
for a better
very
player.
respectable way to do it.
It was 40 plus. That's what it was. It
Yeah.
was her 40 plus team. She asked John McElander to skate with him. So it was you,
Yes.
John, and Zach.
And
And I
that's
forget
fair.
who they were playing. I think they may have been playing Dwight's team because that would be the only way they would all be able to play. That's the only way they would have been able to all
Is that
play.
Smoker's team?
No,
That's why I
that's the
played.
team that Lindsay plays with. You played with me against Smoker.
Okay. All
That
right.
was when
I'm
you
just
picked up
trying.
with me in the 40 plus.
Okay.
So yeah,
Either way.
I appreciate that where we're not going out and going
Yes.
and getting the best available player. Now I've seen guys do it where they go get the best. Maybe I'm just being too nice, and maybe most of you guys are going to listen to this and be like, forget that. We're going to go get the absolute stud that we're allowed to get. We're going to smoke people because we want to move up in the standings. I just feel like that screws up
That
things.
is. I don't like that. Hey, we're gonna get the best skaters. We're just for standings. However, a guy in the C League that has been asked to sub on several teams, I do personally like the extra ice time.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, I enjoy skating in C League for
yes,
one because I love you guys. I think all of you guys are great guys, and again, it's a lot more. It got a lot more competitive these last 2 seasons, but it's a lot of fun with you guys. I think most of you guys have fun. A League is hyper competitive.
yes,
And so it's just a very different feel out
hmm
there. Again, it's not that it's not fun or anything like that, but A League has just been like hyper competitive. So C League is competitive, but at a different pace and at a different level. And I think a lot of guys down there recognize like, hey, we want to do good, we want to play. But at the end of the day, most of those guys are like, we just want to have fun. Like, we want to skate with our friends, want to have a a good time for the
that's
hour,
what it
hour and a half
is.
we're here at the rink.
Yeah.
Just have a good time. So that's why a big reason why I like skating with you guys. So
hmm
so again, I'm not going to call out the team, but I will say, so this is where, in my opinion, yeah, here we go. This is, in my opinion, where things get a little bit dicey. And I want to prerequisite this whole thing and say, I do not think that what was done intentionally, because I actually recommended one of the skaters not realizing exactly what I was doing. So I got a phone call from a team that said, hey, do you have any recommendations for subs? I need one more. And I said, hey, yeah, my brother usually will always sub for anybody, no problem. So I sent the number along to the captain. Captain called him. Well, that captain, little did I know, had pulled one of the Robertson brothers, Andrew Robertson, off of that team, and then had pulled. And maybe I did realize that. Maybe I just wasn't connecting the dots and thinking. And so then they pulled my brother again. So my brother and Andrew Robertson had just played against each other in the previous game, and are arguably two of the better, if not two of the best players on the rink while they're out there playing against each other. Chris plays with you. Andrew plays with the Spoonbills. Both very good players, if not the best player on their team, definitely one of the top 2 or 3 guys on their team, right? So this team is short some players. They hit the ice, and I realized really quickly that it's not that they're short all of their stud players. They seem to be short mostly some of their bottom guys, a couple guys that are in the middle of the pack, but mostly their bottom guys are what's missing. So they pulled these 2 guys, and they're sitting up at 10. They is a regular season game. They beat what was the number 1 team
hmm
at that time, which opened the door for you guys to assume that number 1 position. I went in the locker room post game, talking to the team that the Ice Hogs is the team they played. I walked in, spoke to their captain, Barrett, and Barrett was like, hey, look, what's the deal with subs? And I said, the deal with
Right.
subs is this: you're allowed to pull 2 guys, and you're not allowed to cross the 10 threshold. Their captain, abided by that. And Barrett said, but what the heck? Like, you grab the absolute best 2 players that are available. Like, that's just crazy. And I told him then, I said, look, I would have had no problem with you looking at that other captain and saying, hey, man, I strongly disagree with you going out and grabbing these 2 guys. I really feel like you should have tried to do a little better job of finding equivalent subs to what you don't have here. I understand you're following the rules the way the rules are currently written, but it definitely feels like you're taking advantage of them. It doesn't feel good, right? I don't have a problem with the captain having that
Well,
conversation with
that's
the
the
other captain,
thing. There's been times where the other captain, where I've subbed for, had I've gotten shut down for
but
subbing.
but again, that was within the rules of,
It was
hey,
within the rules,
it was within the
but
rules of, hey, I'm dressed out and I want to sub, but I make 11, and that captain said, hey, I prefer you didn't skate with them because it's over the number, and I don't want my guys to gripe. Basically, was kind of the statement that was made.
that's
Correct,
fine. It
right?
100%. You're right,
Right.
but
So there's I get where you're going.
okay,
There's ill feelings towards like, hey, that captain is a stickler about following the rules. That's what I'm saying. And what I told Barrett was, it's not really that they broke any rule. They didn't break a rule. To me, this is more of a
honor system,
sportsmanship honor
honors.
code type deal
Yep.
that you've broken here. And I don't. It's not within my purview to be like, hey, as the director, like you can't do that
Mhm.
because they didn't do anything wrong according to the rules. Do we go change the rules? I mean, we could, and again, it's just a bunch more work for us to approve
Right.
subs and things like that. And guys are already coming asking us for subs. It right now, no, I don't think we change any of the rules. But I think that's something that captains can look at captains and say, hey, like, if we win this game, we're in first place. And you just went and grabbed the two best players, arguably on their teams, easily top 5 guys in this whole league. You grabbed 2 of them and stuck them on your roster. You have a serious advantage over us now. And so it was still a close game, but the Ice Hogs guys lost.
And
And
that could
there
have
were
changed standings and everything long term in the
100%,
yep.
100%. It would have changed standings all the way across the board,
Yep.
right? Had they been able to win that game, they would have right then
Yeah.
and there locked up number 1. So now their captain wasn't mad about it. Most of their guys were like, hey, it is what it is. We want to do better. Our guys need to show up. We need to go out and play the game. We need to win. Because I think they were sitting right at 10 guys too. They were missing a couple guys that would have been helpful if they would have had. So they knew they were, working against, they had their own issues and that they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
fighting
Yeah.
against.
Yeah.
But one of their guys was genuinely hot about it in the locker room. Like, nah, this is intentional. They did this on purpose. Those guys, he didn't say cheaters, but basically was like, that's not fair. What they're doing is
Hmm.
not fair. And again, I said, I don't think the other captain did it on purpose. And I don't think the other players were doing anything that picked up. I don't think Chris and I don't think Andrew were either one doing anything to intentionally try to disadvantage the Ice Hogs and advantage, their teams or whatever. But that was a bad look. I mean, it just was a bad look. And that's where I get into, hey, how do you police captains in a
Bro,
team when
yeah.
it's an honor code system and they break the honor code? Like, does everybody just
Well,
stand in a big circle around him and look at him and go shame? Like, I don't know.
well,
How do you?
for other people that are listening, and not just in Savannah and Chicago, but other people that play in beer leagues, how do you guys mandate the sub rule? We'd love to hear other ideas. Maybe there's a key idea out there that we don't even know. So let us
Well,
know. Let us know.
the one the guys in Charleston do is kind of the end all be all, I think, where, hey, you got a guy on your roster that's labeled as a 6.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're allowed to go pull any sub from any roster that's willing to fill in for you up to a number grade 7. So you can get a guy that's
Like it.
one number grade above, but
Like it.
that's it. You can't go to 9. Yeah, but the problem with that is then we've got to go sit down and individually evaluate and
Yep.
grade every guy. And it's no problem in a league that's been established for years and years, like Charleston or
Right.
even Jacksonville. I don't know what system Jacksonville uses, but that's easy for that. For us, we have no number grades,
Mhm.
no nothing. And so we're just now beginning to um,
Maybe that's up to the
divide.
captains.
Well, yeah, but then that's a whole honor system too. Like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to rank all my guys as 5s, so anybody can grab them. Whatever. Like, oh yeah, all my studs are 5s, so you can come grab a 5, right? I mean,
It is
there's if
a
you leave it up to the
subjective
captains,
number. It is a
yeah, there's
subjective
ways to
number.
game the system. I'm afraid that way too. So, I mean, we're still dividing our league up into A, B, and C. Like that's coming next season. And
Mhm.
so I've done some homework of trying to grade guys out for, are they B league guys, are they C league guys, things like that. So we're weeding out that. I mean, we're not even close to grading guys in the A league of, all right, you're an A league guy. Are you an A1, an A2, an A3? Are you an A10? Like, where are you at in there? I mean,
Yeah.
that's, again, we're
That's
2 years, a
further
year and a
down the
half
road.
in. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think it's worthwhile, but you guys don't use that in Chicago, so it's interesting. It's not like that's the end all
No,
be
but
all
it, it
system.
it is an honor system. Now look, if we
So how do you guys handle it back in Chicago if somebody rolls out there and they've grabbed 2 absolute heaters for players, and you know they're replacing a couple of. Well, it's harder for you guys because you don't know who they're replacing, right?
You don't know, but you can see them like, hey, that the league that I play in Charlie's league, everybody knows everybody. So you're kind of like, oh, you just pull an Abdu and just run your mouth. Oh, sure, you get a league player, and then you just bitch
Do they
about it
run off the
afterwards.
ice? Do they get off the ice, or they just play anyways?
They just play anyways. Sometimes, yeah, I don't
That
know.
doesn't fix it.
It's been a long time. Um, I'm just gonna say. So I got. Here's an example. We had Zach Wilkie play for us one time, and
Never heard of her. Never heard of her. Who is she?
Okay, Zach Wilkie plays for the SPHL. Congratulations, he just won back-to-back championships in the SPHL. Good friend of John Rollis.
Defenseman of the year.
Defenseman of the year. Sorry, I guess I
Shout
never
out,
told you
Zach.
that. He's a good friend of John Morola's, and those two are a package deal when they play.
Yeah.
So I get a text from the
Because
other goal.
they're a package deal because hockey is, as we've said many times, for everyone.
So I get a text from the other team. Wow, you got a pro on your team? I said, and then he took a picture of my roster, and circled Zach Wilkie. And Zach Wilkie played in the OHL too. So he's like, yeah, how are we supposed to stop that? And I said, well, why don't you ask him if he wants to play on your team too? That's what I said. You know? So we were that team for that one summer.
Abdu said, "You're not going to guilt trip me into this."
No, I said, you can ask him to play on your team. He'd be more than happy to play on two teams. So we got you just get heat about it. Then here's what they do. And the
complain.
board, they complain, but they go right to Charlie. Charlie goes to the captains, and I go, Charlie,
yeah,
you okayed it on our roster.
Yeah, you got to pull the guy off the right. Yeah. So then it creates a headache for Chelios and everything.
It does,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it would be a headache for you. It would be like,
yeah, it's going to be. We're having a captain's meeting. I'm sure these things are going to come up. I'm going to hear about it.
So it's the way it's done. You deal with the bitching and complaining, and then you go to a captain's meeting, and then it's like, hey, Abdu's team has John Morola and Zach Wilkie, and then it turns into, well, how's this? Zach Wilkie won't play next season then. So much better. Lo and behold, it's because his season starts in Peoria. He's only playing with us during the summer league.
So, okay, no problem, guys. Problem solved. We just want to let it play. Oh my gosh. So, all right, well, guys, let us know what you think. If you got any additions to the sub rules, things that from where you're at that we didn't bring up, let us know. Throw them in the comments. If you haven't already, and if you've listened this far, we should have said this way earlier. We're still figuring out how to do this. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, thumbs up on any of the videos, any of the platforms. Throw comments in there. All of that stuff helps it pop up on your feed. It helps it pop up on your friends' feeds. It helps this podcast and YouTube channel grow to a bigger audience, which is kind of what we want to try to do if we can. So appreciate you guys listening, and look forward to speaking to you soon. We got a special guest coming up on another podcast later this week. Really excited about it. Another Chicago guy. So stay tuned for the next episode, guys. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.